All right, welcome to another reaction video. This time it's going to be Rush Xanadu. Now I chose this one. It was recommended by a few people in some of my other Rush reaction videos. I have never heard this song or even knew that they did a version of this song. So this is, I assume, based on the poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who I'm actually going to be doing a little mini course on Coleridge and Wordsworth, their book of poetry, Lyrical Ballads. Now, this poem Xanadu is not in Lyrical Ballads. That's a whole nother, discussion, but it is one of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's more famous poems. So I'll be interested to hear what they're doing with it. I think it's a good one to set to music though. So I'm not going to go into this too much more. I hope you will, do me the honor of sticking around for after my reaction, and where I will read the poem by Coleridge and maybe give some thoughts. So that means that this video might be a little longer than others, but we'll see. So I've never, I said, I'm going to listen to the music. I'm not going to watch the live recording or anything like that. Like, I just want to hear the music. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and, we'll see what happens. It looks like it's 11 minutes, which I did not realize. I guess that's the whole thing. Okay. So, last caveat, if you haven't seen my other reaction videos, please understand music is not my main artistic branch of knowledge. I know very, very little about music. I do like classical music, but I also like a variety of other types of music. I'm trying to learn some others, but I want to try to have kind of authentic and real reactions. And sometimes it's not going to be what you want. Like, you want me to have in a reaction video, I get it. You want me to have like mind-blowing experience. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll try to get into it as much as possible, however. But again, I hope you'll stick around for afterwards. I will read the poem. If you love this song, you should read the poem. You should study it a little bit. It's a very interesting poem. Okay, so let's get into the song. Thanks, sorry. Sorry. I like the pose. What is he doing? Chimes. Coleridge did love chimes. Aeolian harps, you know what that is? Feels very alien to me right now. Encounters of the Third Kind or something. Makes me think of that. This means something. This is important. Chariots of Fire. drummer. Alright, I kind of dig this. No lyrics at all. Waking up from an opium dream, like Xanadu. I can't do it. I don't have a throne. I think that's my problem. I need a throne.
To seek the sacred river out, to walk the caves of ice, to break my fast on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. I have held the whisper tales of immortality, but deepest mystery. From an ancient book, I took a clue. I scaled the frozen mountaintops of eastern lands unknown. Time and man alone, searching for the lost Xanadu.
Searching for the lost Xanadu. Heard that. Okay, I got the lyrics.
To stand within the pleasure dome, decreed by Kubla Khan. To taste anew the fruits of life, the last immortal man. Find the sacred river Alph, to walk the caves of ice. Oh, I will dine on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. Oh, paradise.
Through my window, there was a bird floating on the current. So a lot of it, getting one of this, which is kind of perfect. They include Demon Lover.
1,000 years have come and gone, but time has passed me by. Stars stop in the sky, frozen in an everlasting view, waiting for the world to end, weary of the night, praying for the light, present of the lost Xanadu. Held within the pleasure dome, decreed by Kubla Khan, to taste my bitter triumph as a mad immortal man. Never more shall I return, escape these caves of ice, for I have dined on honeydew and drunk the milk of paradise. Oh, is it paradise?
Okay, good. That's in the poem. A lot of that I don't think is in the poem. Some of it is, for sure. I imagine the live show has lasers, right? Does it? Looking for my bird. He's gone. Ethereal beings. It's good for this hearing. Ephemeral. UFO. Okay. Nice. I did like that. Yeah, I like that. Here's the poem. Yeah, I don't know my thoughts on it. I'm curious. Whenever I do one of these, that people always say, "Well, you didn't listen to the best of the best of them." It's like, all right, maybe. So I enjoyed that. It was. I don't know what to explain, how to say it. I wouldn't say it's something like it's going to be my favorite or anything. I don't want to lie, but it was enjoyable. I would definitely listen to it again. I want to understand a little bit more of what's going on. It's, I want to listen to it when I'm not doing a reaction video, because sometimes my mindset's a little different in a reaction video where, I am thinking of you a little bit, at least when I'm doing it. Whereas when I'm listening to it by myself, that changes it a little bit. So, and it's something that's a poem or a song I would definitely want to, know what I'm a little bit more about where I'm coming from with it. I mean, the lyrics were, I didn't know there was going to be lyrics, and I listened when I saw some of them, because I was having trouble hearing the lyrics, and that might be my headphones, although I think these are decent headphones. That was kind of problematic. Let's see what else. I mean, honestly, it did, like, parts of it did make me think of other songs and other artistic experiences. made me think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's been a long time since I've seen that. I think that's what it's called. I did like, there was actually a bird. I wish you could see. It was like just kind of floating in the air, and like I can see the sky and all these trees in front of my house. And so that was kind of cool because that kind of fit the mood of the song a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I definitely see like this is a perfect song a perfect poem for doing what you want with it, which I think a lot of people do with many of these romantic poems when they take them. They kind of do what they want with it, which is fine. This is I didn't really get any sense from the song about the important themes that are in this poem that I think are in the poem. And again, that's fine. And so I'm going to read this poem. I do want to state my position has not even come close to changing. It's being more and more reinforced that poetry and lyrics in songs are fundamentally different, and they're two different aesthetic experiences. So the music I just experienced, I don't really need to analyze it. In fact, itself, like I can analyze it, and some experts can analyze it, maybe help me enhance my experience of it. And I want that. But I just had the experience, and it's not something I have to like think about in order to have the experience. With music, you just automatically have an aesthetic experience. I think that's why people love music so much. Movies are similar. TV shows are actually similar because they use music and dialogue and camera editing or camera angles and acting and so forth to give you the instantaneous aesthetic experience. Poetry is different. Poetry requires thought, your own thought, not by the poet. I'm not saying that the musicians have less or more thought than the poet. In fact, this poem in particular is supposedly the least thoughtful poem ever in a certain sense, because the poet, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, literally woke up from an opium-induced dream and started writing. And I think it took him like 2 days many hours. And then he was interrupted and it was gone. And he was never able to complete it or get back into that state of mind again. And so that, he wasn't thinking about it. So I think Wordsworth, his Coleridge's writing partner for the book Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth was one of the most thoughtful poets I've ever read. Frost is another one. I mean, there's, I guess, T.S. Eliot, but there are thoughtful poets. Rush may be very thoughtful in the creation. What I'm saying about thoughtful is when I read a novel or a short story, it's very rare that I don't have to stop and really think about what I'm reading and taking in. And same thing with great poetry. Is I have to read it, reread it, understand it. Oh, what do these words mean? And then I have the aesthetic experience. And in fact, part of that reading and rereading and thinking about it is the aesthetic experience intellectually for me. And I think a lot of people are missing that, which is why I'm so passionate about getting people to do it, because it's a completely different aesthetic experience. Okay, I apologize for taking 5 minutes to tell you that again. And I completely understand if you are skipping through some of the stuff. So you may already be gone, but if you're sticking around, I'm going to read this poem to you. I'm not going to do a full analysis of it, but I think if you like this song, you should read the poem, and maybe you should think about it. I'll give you some hints about it. It has a lot to do with creativity, but also I think the combination of pleasure and violence is a big part of this poem. And it's not done through explanation and telling it to you. It's done through clashes. Now, maybe those clashes in the music I just heard did the same thing, and I'm just not as familiar with it. With this, I think with this poem, you see the clashes. You have to think about it through the imagery and the metaphor. You can think of it as an extended metaphor. He's drawing poet Coleridge is drawing a picture, and some people have said it's a picture of the human mind, for instance, but whatever. He's drawing some kind of picture with all of these words. All right. So let's look at this. Can I get this here? Make sure everybody can see it. Okay. So we have Xanadu, or a vision in a dream, a fragment. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river, ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground, with walls and towers were girdled round. And there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And here were forests ancient as the hills, enfolding sunny spots of greenery. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover, a savage place, as holy and enchanted as ere beneath a waning moon was haunted by woman wailing for her demon lover. And from this chasm, with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift half-intermitted burst huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chafy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And mid these dancing rocks at once and ever, it flung up momently the sacred river. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, through wood and dale the sacred river ran, then reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean. And mid this tumult, Kubla heard from far ancestral voices prophesying war. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. A damsel with a dulcimer, in a vision once I saw, it was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abora. Could I revive within me her symphony and song, to such a deep delight 'twould win me, that with music loud and long I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice. And all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware. His flashing eyes, his floating hair, weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honeydew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise. Oh, it is. I forgot. Okay, so I was wrong, by the way. Yeah, I have to look at the lyrics. So, taste my bitter triumph. So, like, there's no immortal man. So the lyrics are interesting. The lyrics of the song. So there's measureless to man in the poem. It's an interesting choice they had. So the lyrics of the song was, they have a direct quote is the first verse, to seek, this is from the song, quote, to seek the sacred river Alph, to walk the caves of ice, to break my fast on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. Is that there? Honeydew. Yeah, for he on honeydew he hath fed and drunk the milk. Yeah, they made some interesting choices for sure. I heard the whispered tales of immortality, the deep mystery from an ancient book I took. This is more from the lyrics. I scaled the frozen mountain tops of eastern lands unknown, time and man alone, searching for the lost Xanadu. So that's, I think what it seems, again, this is me not having gone into this with any pre-thoughts on the lyrics, because this is a reaction video. I'm trying to just have my first reaction. But it really seems like what they're doing in the lyrics is they're like almost trying to enter into this imaginary dream that Coleridge came up with. And that makes sense to me. as the, what the music resonates with the music they're trying to attend to. So overall, I think this is a song and a, poem worth re-exploring and exploring some more. I hope you will try the poem yourself. I just gave you a little reading of it, but it's worth looking into. It's very different than a lot of poetry. So if this is your first experience with poetry, I would maybe stay away from it. But it's got this really interesting cadence. It changes a lot, but also the imagery is so interesting with the way he describes the rills. It's this peaceful, calm pleasure dome. But then in this romantic chasm, he starts going into this, haunted, there's a haunted woman wailing for her demon lover. Right. It's like quite a crazy turn in a sense. You get this screeching sound is what I hear. And in this little chasm that she's in, there's like this turmoil seething as if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing. And then it takes on this kind of more and more scary, terror, violent aspect. You have huge, amid those swift half intermitted burst, huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail or chafy grain beneath the thresher's flail, beating you with the policeman beating you basically. And mid these dancing rocks at once and ever, it flung up momently the sacred river, 5 miles meandering, and it keeps going. And, there's a scariness to it. And then Kubla, the character Kubla Khan, who's, based on the Mongol leader, hears these ancestral cries Kubla heard from far, ancestral voices prophesying war, the shadow of the dome of pleasure. So this all happening in his pleasure dome, floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice, right? That's an interesting contrast. And then there's this woman, so a dulcimer is like a stringed instrument. She's playing a song, and the poet, Coleridge presumably, wants to recreate that song in a sense, but he seems to be unable to do so. So overall, I think these are both artistic experiences worth having, and at least experiencing and trying them out. They're very much both the poem and the song. I'm glad that I listened to the song. It was enjoyable. And I will listen to it again for sure. So thank you. Keep the recommendations coming. I'll try some more Rush. I do like the connection to poetry. It's an interesting thing. And again, please forgive me. I wasn't able to analyze the lyrics and the poem ahead of time. So the lyrics, I didn't even know there was lyrics. I was just that was my first reaction, which is what this show is about. Okay. Well, I will see you next time.